so excited to be here today with a woman that I didn't meet you when you sang with Frida Battle and the Temple Worshipers. I think I met you after that. So I'm so excited to be here with you today with Tasha Critchlow. We have a really interesting journey. I feel like we met on social media.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
And did you post something or I posted something? Somehow.
Yep, there was an exchange.
There was an exchange, and that's what I love about social media. You can meet someone, and for me, and I think you would feel this way as well, I just felt like I knew the authenticity of who you were.
Yes,
and
agreed.
Once we started conversating,
it was easy.
It was easy,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So before I get into why you are here, I had this little note, and I want to talk about our meetings, right?
Okay.
And
sure.
our connection, right? So what is our connection?
Several things.
Okay.
But the most important one is probably Essence Fest.
Essence Fest, right? Yep. We saw each other at Essence Fest,
Yeah.
and we were like, "Hey,
Yeah.
Boston!"
Yeah.
And I was at Essence Fest with Julie.
Yeah.
And I had won a makeover from stylist Jay Bolin, which my husband still thinks is the funniest thing ever because I was on the Walmart stage.
Yes.
And he was like, "You won clothes from Walmart?" And I was like, "Yep."
Yep.
And I was so excited about
Yes.
it. And you were there and you videotaped because Julie was so excited that she lost her mind. She
Yep.
wasn't videotaping anything. So if you weren't there, I wouldn't have
Some memorable moments.
Yes. So that's one thing.
Yeah.
And then, because I want to see if you say the thing that I'm, I think is our, major connection.
The women's conference?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Uh,
Dun, 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 dun.
wait.
Dun, 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 dun. Okay, I'll
Help
you.
me out, because I'm like, we definitely
We
exchanged-
are concert queens.
Oh, my goodness. You know what? It's the COVID brain. I'm so sorry. Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
we would run into each other at concerts.
At
You are
concerts,
so right. You see
all
how
the
God,
time.
look at that.
Yes.
COVID wiped it all
Yes,
away.
yes. So we
Yikes.
ran into each other at Foxwoods,
Yep.
Essence Fest. There was a place, I can't remember who was there. It's downtown. It's like a little, they used to do a lot of concerts there. You could order food. Layla Hathaway.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
In the
We-
winery. Yes.
Yes,
yes.
the winery. I wasn't drinking wine, people.
Yes.
Just,
That's an amazing spot, though.
you know, because you know the
Yeah.
Saints, they'll be
Right,
like, "Ooh,
right.
she was at the winery."
Right, right.
No, but the other night, as I told you, I was scrolling through Instagram, and I hadn't seen you post in a while, and you did a post, and I want to read it. And as soon as I read it, it was on Sunday night. So all of this just happened. Like literally Sunday night, I read your post and I sent you something on Monday.
Yep.
And I asked if you could come and share your journey because I know it's an important journey, and I know that it will change the trajectory of someone's life. And so I want to read what you wrote. And as soon as I read it, I had been praying and asking the Lord. Last year we did the Dash Takeover, and it was free to everyone. And I knew this year, there were women that had registered for the conference last year, so I owed them something. And I had promised that I would give them a conference this year. But my heart was like, I still want women to be able to have something to some information and just, you know, to be able to gather together. I love when women come together and when we share our stories with one another. But this is what you wrote. You said, a few years ago, I was diagnosed with CCA, and as a result, I started following several Black female dermatologists. And I'll let you share, you know, the full testimony. But as I read that and I thought about women that I've met with through years. In fact, a dear friend of mine just had some cysts and fibroids removed, and is, you know, has been on this journey of trying to get pregnant. And I thought, man, this testimony has to be shared so that it can go across the world. And I believe that that's what we were talking about, and that's what this conference is about being made new and really not being afraid to share our stories, because it's in the storytelling that we can help somebody else be free. So I just read the first 2 lines, but I'll let you go ahead and share. And I thank you for being here and being transparent about your journey.
Yeah. So thank you for inviting me and allowing me the opportunity to share my experience. That was definitely the first experience that I shared publicly what has been going on my entire life, not realizing that, you know, this could change somebody's life until my inbox in the morning. So I just felt like this is just something that I was just supposed to walk through life with. So since I was 10 years old, I've always had heavy periods, like everybody knows, you know, something that Black women deal with, and kind of just, we put it on ourselves, kind of like this is our lot in life, and it doesn't have to be that way. So I've always dealt with that. Was going to the doctors, found out that I had many fibroids, many. And
now, let me just ask you a question. When you were 10 and you know, first received your menstrual cycle, did you just think that was normal, that it was just, oh, I'm in so much pain? Like, what did the doctor say at that point? Did they say anything to you or?
So, I'd never shared it with even my mom, my grandmother, my sister, anyone, that I was taking Tylenol, that, you know, I was cramping every month, and it was so extreme, until maybe 13, 14 years old. And by that point, you know, there's always the talk of, well, let's just put you on the pill, right? And at that point, there was no examinations done. So I didn't know about the fibroids or anything at that point. But by the time I graduated high school, I definitely was aware that I had fibroids, what they were, how they can, you know, change my life, and the challenges that I'll have going forward. Birth control at that point was not an option for me, because unfortunately, blood pressure was always an issue. So I pretty much became like a test dummy for them. And I was trying out all kinds of medications. So I went off to school and challenges with, you know, being in class and taking these medications. Just trying to get through.
So they just kept prescribing stuff to you.
To just try it out.
To try it out and to help alleviate some of the pain and discomfort that you were having.
Absolutely. I mean, I tried everything. The shot, the whatever they want to call it new, I tried it. I can imagine they were in the back like, oh, let's try it out on Tasha. Because I feel like I tried everything. Till maybe about when I graduated college, so about 22, 23, and I decided at this point I really need to kind of take control, figure out what's really going on and what my options are.
Now, were these debilitating, like you get your cycle, you're out of school, you're out, you're down, like man down, like.
Yes, man down, literally, I am in the fetal position underneath my desk at work. Because by this point, you know, I've graduated college, I'm in the workforce, and I'm not on anything. I'm trying to manage it with over-the-counter pain medication. So before the pain medication would even take effect, the pain would be excruciating. So I would literally be underneath my desk, give me an hour or two, because I don't have enough sick time because I've been using it too much to get through this season, just get through. Give me till noon, I'll be up off the floor, and I'll be back to work. And then with that, of course, comes the embarrassing side, right? Because unfortunately, I'm also having accidents at work, right? So I have 10.
Because your flow is very heavy.
Extremely.
Yes.
And they have 10 office chairs, right? So I'm dealing with that.
And I just want to say that this is something that we don't talk about a lot, right?
Right.
And it's very common.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So I'm dealing with that embarrassment too, right? So I'm carrying around all of this, not knowing what I'm going to do about these fibroids. They're monitoring them, but they're not saying exactly what we can do to eliminate them, because they can take them out, but they always give you the disclaimer that they will come back, right? So they always tell you the younger you are when you remove them, if you're not ready to start a family, then you probably want to wait. I mean, my gynecologist at the time told me, when you're ready, just come back. This is his quote. I'll clean you out and you'll be all set. So I'm struggling with that. But again, this is what I think, this is just what I just have to deal with. So I carry on. And then decide I'm going to really look into having them removed. By this point, I have about 8 or 9 fibroids that they can see that are good size fibroids, but they know that there are some that they can't see. But I wait, because I was like, I'm not in a relationship. I'm kind of thinking about that in the back of my mind. Okay, so time goes on. I'm 25, I'm 30. You know, you hear your clock ticking. You hear your friends like, okay, so where's your kids? What are you doing? Right. Unbeknownst to them, if I even tried to have a family, traditional or non, I couldn't carry a kid, right? So I'm dealing with that too, because I'm like, oh, I would love to have a kid, but I can't. So by the time I decide, okay, I'm gonna just get them removed, by this point, I have the surgery, I have a different doctor by this point. I have the surgery, they remove them, they're so big that it's pretty much a C-section to remove them. And it's 13 fibroids now at this point.
Wow. And what are the sizes of the, because I know sometimes they give women, they'll say, well, this one is the size of a grapefruit, this is the size of an orange, this is, like, did they say that to you? And I don't know why they do that, because
right.
It's like, it doesn't make it better that you told me I have an orange inside of me.
At all. They might have, but when I heard the number 13, the next phrase that I was waiting for her to say was that my uterus was still intact, because there's always the possibility that I could come out the surgery and with no possibilities of ever having children. Right. So I was waiting for that ball to drop.
Right. Because they do say, because I know someone where a fibroid was attached to their uterus.
Yep.
And they had to remove the uterus, because there was no, like, clean way to take the fibroid out.
Yeah, and that happens too often. And a lot of women will make the decision because, you know, maybe they've had their children already, and they're going through this process of having the fibroids and having the heavy menstrual cycles and all of that, that by this point they would rather just have the partial hysterectomy or make those decisions. So everyone's walking around with these stories, right? And these challenges, but we as women never talk about it. It's almost like one of those things that we should be ashamed of. But by this point, I decide, okay, so let's figure this out. What am I gonna do next? Well, for a while, it felt great. I felt like, is this what it's supposed to feel like? When I first got my menstrual cycle, like I felt like I could go to the store and buy the regular size stuff.
Once they removed the fibroids, your cycle went to a normal place. No more cramping, no.
I felt like I was a 13-year-old kid.
Okay.
I felt amazing. I was like, oh, this is great. Like, I felt like I had just been baptized. It was amazing. And that lasted for several years. And fast forward to where we are today, and the fibroids are starting to grow back, and I'm starting to have all of those issues all over again. So I have to think about, what do you want to do now, right? I'm 42, right? So do I decide to have the surgery again, which is potentially another C-section, or do I just let them be, right? So this is what I'm battling with. But at the same time, I've transitioned with my hair, which started probably about, so I've cut my hair natural maybe about 4 years ago. Before that, I had locks. So before that, I had a perm, roller set every 2 weeks. I was that girl. And when I was doing that, all my life, I was getting the flaky scalp. There was a couple of times that I can specifically remember my scalp was so inflamed that water was painful. And I'm mentioning that because I know there's got to be some woman who has experienced that the same way that I did. Do not walk away from this conference thinking that that is normal. Please go see a dermatologist. That experience should have changed my life, right? Water's painful. That should have changed my life. It didn't, right? I'm thinking, oh, I'll just continue to use the over-the-counter shampoo, you know, that we always hear about, the $20 bottle on the bottom shelf. You'll be fine. Just do a couple of more scalp treatments at the hair salon. You'll be fine. No. Those are fine. I'm not knocking those. But at the same time, something else is starting to happen with your scalp that you need to have checked out. And I did not. I just let those things go by. I did talk to a dermatologist, and this dermatologist was prescribing me medicated shampoo. So I thought, she knows what she's talking about. I'll just do that. And it settled it down. My flaky scalp, it settled it down for a good while. But it didn't resolve the problem. And I should have then known that those were the signs for something else. So I transitioned from perm to natural hair. So I had locks. Had I had gone through the research with my perm and the flaky scalp and inflamed scalp, all of that, I never would have locked my hair. Because the tension that it put on my scalp caused more patches when I took the locks out. So I went 7 years with locks, and then I decided I'm gonna cut these off. And not just because I was just tired of them, but because my hair was thinning, like right here in the front. So I was like, I'm not I'm not ready to be bald, Lord, like not by choice. So
So when you decided to transition to locks, it was because you were having scalp challenges. And so you thought, well, let's just go like the lock route, which is kind of a natural route, right? And so now you decide, okay, my hair's starting to thin. Maybe it's, because this is what a lot of people think, maybe it's the weight
absolutely
of the locks, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Think this the weight of the locks.
Yeah.
You start telling yourself, oh, I'm locking it too much.
Yep.
Twisting
hard.
too much,
Yeah.
twisting too hard.
Yeah.
These are the stories we tell ourselves to get through the day,
Yeah.
right? Because we don't want to face the reality that, okay, something else is going on here. So I took the locks out, and within a year, even the barber that cut my locks off was saying everybody who did the same thing, within a year, their patches were starting to grow back, and their hair had grown back. And I've seen that. So he's a, reputable barber, so I thought he knew what he was talking about. Well, in probably about 6 months into that year, my scalp started to get inflamed again, and I find myself back at the dermatologist. Now this time, the same dermatologist who would prescribe me shampoo is now doing steroid shots on my scalp. But we're doing the steroid shots for about, almost about a year, almost a year. But we never did a scalp biopsy. So we still don't know what it is. If we finally do a scalp biopsy and it comes back that it's CCCA, in the technical term, please look it up. I don't even know how to say it in English. But
I think you wrote it in your post.
yes.
And let me pull it up. It is centrifugal
Yep, that.
Cicatricial alopecia, CCCA, is the most common cause of hair loss in Black women.
Yes. The other nickname, if you look it up, is also called hot comb alopecia.
Okay.
And I start reading more and more about it, and I find out that, those stress patches that we always say we have, those are the starts of CCCA. Wow. But we missed the warning signs. The flaky scalp, I missed the warning signs. So
the water on your
the
scalp.
water on my scalp.
Yeah.
That should have been a huge red flag for me.
But I want to go back to just even your 10-year-old self, right? And just women in general, right? And women in the Black community, because we are often told, right, that we have to do everything, be everything. We're constantly moving. Absolutely. And we're not paying attention to the little things, right, that are happening to us. We kind of put it off. Oh, yeah, I heard somebody has that. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. And even at 10 years old, and I think that happens to a lot of young women, we just take something on as this is normal without talking about it, right?
Absolutely.
And so I think your story is going to teach us like those little things that we need to pay attention to immediately.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Please do not ignore, don't ever ignore any signs of anything. But definitely do not ignore if your menstrual cycle is heavy. Don't ever ignore that. If the doctor is not willing to examine you, to do any type of ultrasounds, find another one. Yes. It's so important, because what they did with me was they were able to track the size and the growth over time. So I could at least say, I can make the educated decision for myself what I wanted to do, because I had all of the information every time I went, what the growth was looking like. But if you don't go and you don't have a baseline, for yourself and you're going off of what somebody else is telling you happened to them, that is not your DNA. That's not your family's DNA. That's not you. Please go to the doctor and find out. If for nothing else, to give you peace about it. Just to know that nothing is wrong. If for that, you know? And then with my hair, oh my goodness. This journey would have been, I could have gotten to this place in my 20s. I would have done so many things differently. Like now, I cut my hair off. I'm not saying I would have cut my hair off in my 20s, but maybe I would have just went natural, but maybe I didn't lock my hair. You know, just other options. Maybe I would have started a wig line. Who knows? But like, I just would have given myself other choices with information, right? And I just wouldn't have had that embarrassing stigma of now having to grow out my hair in front of everybody, right? Have the patches that I'm trying to hide. And on top of that, I have the heavy menstrual cycle that I'm trying to hide. Like, it's just too much. I just feel like I'm wearing a costume all day. It's too much. So I'm carrying around this burden for nothing, and I don't have to. So I hope that somebody is freed and doesn't feel like they have to put on a costume for anybody. Everybody's dealing with something. And this CCCA is so real in the Black community. Like, the first dermatologist that I had, I should have known that she wasn't gonna understand the value that we put in our hair, right? She's of a different culture, right? But when I changed to a different dermatologist who is African American, I didn't have to explain any of that. She knew, like, my first meeting with her, I explained to her, this is my expected outcome, and she said, that's all? That's all you're looking for? You don't want bangs? Like, she was trying to make sure that, like, I was good. Like, and I felt so comfortable that somebody was rooting for me to win. Like, we're all on the same team. We all want to be successful. So that makes a difference.
I think that's a very important point.
Yeah.
Is that you have the opportunity to interview any person that is taking care of you, from your dentist to your dermatologist to your ophthalmologist to your gynecologist.
Absolutely.
And sometimes, because I remember when Pastor Matt and I were trying to get pregnant and I was battling infertility, and my doctor was African American and had no empathy. None. So even a person that I thought would be able to relate with me culturally couldn't.
Yeah.
But I think it's important. I think that's such an important point that you make, is that you have to, one, pause and say, wait, something doesn't feel right. Let me take care of it.
Yep.
That's number one. Then number two is keep going until you find the right person that you feel that connection with, and that they are willing to, like, kind of follow this plan that both of you come up with, because it's your body.
Absolutely. I definitely 100% agree with that. Just not even in all of the doctors that you just explained, and your mental health as well.
Yes.
If you're seeing a therapist as well,
Yes.
make sure that you can relate and you can have that open conversation with them.
Yes.
The same way we're talking right
Right,
now. Like, it's
right.
so important.
Right.
Because if you have to constantly advocate everywhere you go, I shouldn't have to advocate for me to be healthy.
Right.
Like, I shouldn't have to advocate for somebody to want to see me successful, and not somebody I'm paying.
Right. Right, because you're paying monthly for your health care, so that's your money.
Yeah, I shouldn't have to pay for you. Like, we should all be okay with me walking out of here successful.
Right.
You know, so at the end of the day, if I pray that somebody hears what I'm saying, and please, if you've been experiencing the flaky scalp and you have no idea why, and I know we as Black women, we will listen to our aunties, our mamas, our grandmamas, and they'll say, oh no, baby, that's just put some oil on it. Just put some, please,
Yes.
please go to the dermatologist and get it checked out, because if you can get yourself the proper information up front, it'll
on the back
save,
end, yeah.
oh my goodness.
So now one of the things that you talked about in your post was the correlation between CCCA
Yeah.
and fibroids. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because, I mean, these are two major things that we deal with, especially in the Black community as women. I know my granddaughter has a very heavy menstrual cycle, and my daughter and I were just talking last month that she really needs to go get checked out because it's just too heavy,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And so that correlation, I mean, that was like an aha moment. I felt like Oprah reading that. I said, what? I said,
Me
I
too.
mean, that was amazing.
Me too. It was one of the Black female dermatologists that wrote an entire study about the correlation between CCCA and fibroids. And she didn't necessarily put in the blog that one preceded the other. But there's definitely the relationship that if you have fibroids, there's a high risk that you are also going to have CCCA, and vice versa, right? So for me, if I had known that at 16, my 16-year-old self would have made some changes with my hair, or just, and it's not placing the fear in me, but just having the knowledge, right? Like we always talk about for our health to make sure that we do our breast screenings and things like that. This is, to me, my hair is just as important. So if something can help me along the way, that if I can make these changes now, that I can have my hair longer attached to my head, and I don't have to put in this extra time to try to figure it all out and go through my quote-unquote embarrassing stages of life, there's no amount of money that I wouldn't pay for that. You know, because unfortunately, when we take pictures, you know, we like to post them, right? So when I was going through all these transitions with my hair, the first thing I was trying to do was hide the patches. And I got to the point that, and it's funny that you mentioned that I hadn't posted in a while, because it's something that I was just like, I'm doing all of this for what? I'm putting up this facade for what? I'm exhausted. You know, like that's just an extra layer of something that we put on ourselves as women to present, you know, this picture, this filter, right? Which is fine, but I had just gotten to the point where I was like, okay, enough is enough. You've been dealing with this. And that was my first public post about it. I'm never ashamed of it. If people had ever asked, I'm very transparent about it, because I hope that someone would, you know, take this information and run with it, especially if it changes their life. So I'm never one to not share some information.
But on that day, what gave you the courage to just post that? Because that was unlike any of your posts. I mean, I don't, I'm not like this, like, I'm like tracking people, right? But there's something about, I can feel an authenticity in people, right? I know I have that anointing.
Yep.
But I was curious, like, on that day, like, what made you declare on that day that you were going to post that?
I honestly don't know if it was, like, I didn't pray anything special that day. Like, I didn't say, today's the day I didn't have any type of declaration like that. I came across the post, and I just said, I'm just going to put it out here. And honestly, I posted that. It was the middle of the night, as you know, and I went to sleep, and I forgot all about it. And I woke up to all these comments, and I was like, wait a minute. What just happened? And I think God is funny like that, because I feel like if I had posted that during the day, I would have been playing double dutch with it. Like, should I take it down? Should I not take it down? Oh, somebody saw it? No.
Yeah.
And I would have been doing all of that. Even to your request to be here today, I actually, and I didn't share this with you, I misread your request. I thought it said, come be on this conference call. And I was like, sure, I'll be on this conference call. Whatever, it's a conference call. And I read it again, but I had already said yes. I was like, all right, I see you guys. I was like, all right, I see you. And then I thought it was next week. Last night, I saw you guys went live. I said, oh my goodness, it's tomorrow. Wait a minute. Yeah. I had to email my boss and say, you know that time I needed next week, I need it tomorrow. I was like, God, because he knows me. Yeah. He knows if I had time to think about it.
He gave you no room.
No time. And I would have talked myself right out of it.
That's what I love about God. He gave you no room. And I love that, because I told you my story. I just happened to be up late because I couldn't sleep. I was like, ah. And then you posted late. Yeah. I'm never on social media that late. Anybody who knows me, they know that phone goes off. I don't want to hear a ding. I don't want to hear anything. It's down. But I was up, and I just was scrolling through. And when I saw that, I knew that that was God. And just having this conversation, even when I think of, and that's why I was asking you, like, was anything going through your mind? Because one of the things that I said yesterday, and it was reoccurring even today when Reverend Kazi spoke, she talked about, like, taking that mask off, right? Just put the mask down, right? And if you're going to be renewed, you have to stand and declare that those old things, they're passed away. Absolutely. So you have to just put it out there and just say, yeah, I used to battle with depression, but it has no hold over me. Absolutely. And so you doing that, like when I think of how timely that was, how God held that in you, right, to post it at that time, and that liberation for lots of women, that liberation for you to be here today, and even how God connected us. Absolutely. Because I didn't meet you. I mean, Frida was here. She was our main worship leader for years. Right. And I don't remember meeting you through the temple worshipers. But the amazing thing with God is that everything happens at the appointed time. Absolutely. Right? And we are, I talked about the Hebrew month yesterday, that we're in the month of ER. The other thing about the month of ER is that it's appointed times, right? And so when you think about appointed times, there's a time to be born, there's a time to die, there's a time for, hate, there's a time for love. I mean, there's so many contrasts in Ecclesiastics. And I just believe that this message that you posted, I don't even think you understand, like, where that message is going to take you. It's an appointed time, because there are so many women that are battling with this, and you're going to do so much research on it. There, like, the places that you're going to go to you can't even fathom. The messages that you received, that's just, those are little, because the floodgates are coming.
I received that.
The floodgates are coming.
I receive it.
And, when we go through pain, right, God makes it purposeful.
Absolutely.
And so I just appreciate you sharing that. I believe that, there are going to, be doctors that you'll link up with that will understand the plight of what Black women go through. And I also believe, and I haven't done any research on this, but what I will say is that in my journey in becoming a vegan, I was in a conversation with my friend Julie last week, or maybe it was this week, and she kept staring at me because I had this swelling in my lymph nodes that was very, it was very pronounced. And when I became a vegan, it disappeared. It was gone. And she just kept staring at me, and then all of a sudden she was like, since you've become a vegan, you don't have that swelling anymore. And I said, I know I don't. And I used to have swelling on the back of my neck.
Wow.
And I used to have swelling here, all in my lymphatics, right? And so I feel like in our culture, right, some of the things that have been passed down in the ways that we eat have an effect on our body.
Absolutely.
And so I just know that you're unlocking some doors right now, and God had you misread it, right? And then he had you misread like the timing.
Everything.
He had everything to misread for you.
Everything.
So that
because he knows me.
He knows, right?
Me.
And that's just how he is. But thank you so much. I hope that you continue posting and sharing and getting a network together. I mean, I see classes. I see all kinds of stuff. We know that you're doing amazing work at your church in the production.
Thank you. Yes.
And I think, I really believe that sometimes God starts lining things up, right? You just started doing production, but production leads, right, to now producing all kinds of things.
Yes.
And so that's, we don't know where it's going.
I receive it.
We don't know where it's going, but we know that when God is in it, it's way bigger than we could ever think or imagine. That's what his word tells us. So any closing remarks that you want to leave with the women that, like, if they're feeling anything, like, how do they get started?
Yeah. No, if you feel like you've been battling with the heavy menstrual cycle, please contact your primary care physician and press them. Go in there with your list of everything that's been happening. Keep a calendar. We all have smartphones. Put all the information in your calendar. The day that it starts, put it in the notes. How you were feeling. All of the symptoms that you had on that day, so when you come into that doctor's appointment, you run them all down so they know that you're prepared. For if you're having the scalp issues, again, because I know it takes a long time sometimes for dermatologists to get you an appointment. That was definitely one of my struggles. Start documenting everything in your calendar, when it happened, what you did, what shampoos you're using, even everything that you're doing, write it down from the day that you remember, oh, I noticed some extra flakes on my scalp, or I noticed a patch, or my hairdresser said she noticed a patch. Write those things down. Those are not minor things. You want to keep track of those things. Talk to a dermatologist about it. Please do not ignore those signs.
Well, thank you so much. This session was Health Matters, and I think it's really important as women that we pay attention to our bodies. Do not put yourself last. We know that there's there's a big buzz right now about, having your self-care day, but you can't have a self-care day if you're not taking care of yourself every day. See, that's I've got my self-care day. I'm going to soak in a tub. I'm going to get my feet done, my face done. That's all great. But if you're not taking care of yourself every day, if you're not paying attention to those warning signs, because they're very subtle.
Absolutely.
They're very subtle. If you're not paying attention to them, if you're not getting your proper rest, eating right, eating healthy, then you can really go off course. So health matters. Health matters every single day. And so I just want to breathe a word of prayer. And God, we thank you for this body that you have given us. We thank you, Lord, that your word tells us that faith without works is dead. So even as we're having faith that you are Jehovah Rapha, that you are God our healer, the faith that we need to do, the action that we need to do is to go to the doctor, to get our yearly physicals. For some people, it's every 2 years, to get our breast exams, to get our gynecology exams, to get our eyes checked out, to get our our dermatology, our scalp, our skin checked out. God, from this day forward, we commit our bodies to you as holy and acceptable. God, we thank you for these bodies that you've given us. We don't take it for granted. And God, we want to live all the days that you have ordained for us to live. Because God, we want to win the lost to Christ. And the way that we win them is running our race and being healthy. And I want to run until I can't run anymore. And so, God, I thank you. I thank you for Tasha. I thank you for her life. I thank you for the platform that you're giving her. I thank you, God, that you've equipped her, that you've made her a researcher. God, I thank you that your perfect love casts out fear. I thank you, God, for the arena that she's stepping into. I thank you for those that will join alongside of her. And I thank you, God, that goodness and mercy are following her all the days of her life. And that, Lord, even in every situation that she has been in, you have been there, that you have been her shield and her rampart. And I thank you, God. I thank you for what you're doing and what you are going to do. In Jesus' name, amen. We're going to take a short break, and then we're coming back with a session called Friendship Matters. And, and friendship does matter. And, I love when I meet people online and I have the opportunity to talk to them and then meet them in person. And so although Tasha and we don't hang out all the time, but when we see each other, we're so happy, like, oh, you got tickets to this concert, yay! So we're going to talk about friendship matters and why it matters in women. And so we'll see you in about 10 to 15 minutes. Peace. welcome back to the Dash Renewal. And I am, as always, I'm like really super excited to be sitting here with these 5 amazing women. And all they know is that this session is on friendship matters. But I'm thinking they're probably gathering like why we're doing this session. So a couple of years ago, I wrote this children's book called Grow. And many of you know that one of the reasons that the RISE program was started was to help young women, young girls, learn how to be friends. We are not taught to be friends, we're just expected to have friends, right? You're sent off to school, and you're just like, from first grade, kindergarten on, you're just sent to school and make a friend. You get home, did you make any friends today, honey? And for some of us, it's like, I didn't make any friends, nobody likes me. I mean, I think everyone has probably kind of gone through something like that, I don't know. But, so when I started the RISE program, I thought, hey, let's start something to teach young girls how to be friends. The Bible tells us to be a friend, one must first be friendly. And so as I've been reflecting, and I keep talking about this book, and it's just becoming, I think hearing it in Michelle Obama's voice and her touching upon so many pieces of my journey has really, it's done something in this season of life that I'm in. And so one of the things that she talked about was when she became the First Lady of the United States, she held dear to her friends. And she had a group of friends that she would travel with once a year, and she would plan all these activities for them to do. And it was her moment to just kind of let her hair down and just be her authentic self. And so I thought, I was in Florida, and as I shared with you guys yesterday and earlier today, that I was thinking, what are some topics, panels that we could do for the broader women that could tune in and just hear this? And so I wanted to do something on friendship matters, and I wanted to take you on a journey of my life and the friendships that matter according to what I wrote. It's almost like I'm testing this out, right? Because when I wrote it, I said there were 5 kinds of relationships that everybody needs in their life. Now, I'm not this person that says like someone is like my bestie, because I always feel like it leaves people out, and I don't like people like left out. Like I think people know that about me, but I mean, I love people. So for me, like it's like people are like the bestie, like in so many ways to me. Like even today I was watching, Kristen Causey, and I was thinking, I was like, I love her so much. Like, as she was speaking, I wanted to get up and just go hug her, right? And I was like, what a wonderful word. And even as we went upstairs, I was just like, I just love you so much. And it's real. But I wanted to have the opportunity to give you guys flowers publicly while you're still living, okay? And I wanted to talk about how we met, and then to identify through the Grow book, because Kim she's kind of holding me accountable. She'll probably hold me more accountable after this, but I keep saying I'm going to make this into an adult version, because I know a lot of women need to understand how to appreciate one another and how to really be friends, and to understand your relationships in your life, because when you have an understanding, of why someone is in your life, it helps you to appreciate them even more. So, so the first thing that I want to say is, the first person, I'm going to take you through a journey in my life. So the first person I'm going to talk about is Pastor Cynthia, because we met each other when we were teenagers. We weren't the best of friends, but we knew each other, we loved each other, and then we became reacquainted when we both came to the Lord, right? And the joy that it's been in knowing someone from my past and knowing my family and the thuggishness that runs all up in my family and in your family. You know, we Thug Nation. But, you know, there are times we look at each other and we're just like, man, you know, God really saved us. And then there are people that we know that are either dead, in jail, strung out on drugs, and that lifestyle is still continuing in their family. But God saw fit to save us and to put us in the same ministry. And, you know, our kids were born in the same year. We were pregnant at the same time. And so, you know, I wanted to talk about, like, reaching back and, you know, holding dear to those people that maybe, like, you grew up with. And so do you remember how we became reacquainted in church? Because it wasn't instantaneous, right?
No, because I think when your mom, well, I remember I'm seeing your mom at Stop and Shop with Raimi and Tavisha, and she was like, oh my God, I'm saved now, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh my God. And she said, you should come to church and visit our church, New Covenant Christian Church. And I was like, yeah, okay, you know. And then I was dealing with this guy who was related to Cookie, who used to be Bishop's administrative assistant. Yeah. And she had invited her nephew and I to the church. And so we came to the church. And we came here. He wanted to leave immediately after it was over, but I came back by myself the next week. Mm-hmm. And ever since that time, I just continued to come. And seeing you and seeing your mom, I don't remember knowing you were here, but I knew your mother was here. Mm-hmm. And then just seeing you, and I guess by us seeing each other, we're like, oh my God, we know each other, mm-hmm. you know. So, and from there, it just started right back again. And ever since that time, I've been walking by your side. We've been walking with each other, mm-hmm. walking together mm-hmm. in ministry, and I'm here, 1992, the first Sunday in November, mm-hmm. and I've never left the ministry.
Yes. And what does friendship mean to you?
Friendship means to me is somebody who loves at all times, mm-hmm. someone who has your back no matter what, someone who is there to support you, to encourage you, to lift you up, to any need that you have, that if you're able to fulfill it, to inspire it, encourage it, to just to be there as a cheerleader for a person, to love them in good times, in bad times, just to be like, it's like a marriage to me. Friendship to me, best friendships, favorable friendships, loving friendships to me, all friendships to me is like a marriage without the sex, with a woman. I'm just keeping it real. It really is. I take my friendships very seriously. They're up there. They're not first because I'm first, but they're up there, and I take them very seriously. I protect them. I love them. I never want them to be broken. They're a joy to me. They're a sadness to me. They're family to me. They're everything to me. That's what friendships means to me.
Thank you. That was awesome. Well, according to, you know, and this was kind of hard because I don't necessarily put people into categories. And I feel like, you know, according to the 5 friendships that are in this book, I feel like you could have cross sections, you know, like in personality profiles or temperament profiles. You could be like a phlegm, melancholy. I mean, you could be blends, but I just try to say, okay, what is the, as I'm aging, what would I call these women that are seated here with me? And so for you, Pastor Cynthia, I called you my carefree friend because there is something that we do that we love. And what is that?
It's either one or two things. It's either shopping or dancing and laughing all the time.
Yes, well, that's all of them, but there's a place that we do all of that.
It's our favorite place in the whole wide world, and we wish we were there right now.
Yep.
It's Martha's Vineyard. And one year we're going to have the Women's Conference in Martha's Vineyard.
Well, prophesy that right now
Yes, we
in the
will.
name of Jesus, amen. But what I said in the Grow is that the carefree friend, there is never a doubt or hesitation on who to rely on for freedom, adventure, passion, spontaneity, and sometimes reckless behavior. She is the total sum of gut-wrenching thrill ride at an amusement park. And whenever she calls to hang out, you're guaranteed a grand time. In fact, life would be ordinary without her in it. She is the spice to a drab meal. She is the heat to a cold day. And more importantly, she will give you a reason to do all the things you only imagined. So thank you for being my carefree friend.
Thank you.
So the next person, because I'm trying to go in order of how you were introduced into my life. And so my next person is Pastor Katani. And we were connected, are connected through a horrible marriage and a wonderful marriage. So you are my marriage friend, right? So I met Pastor Katani, and it's funny how not only are we connected through marriage, but we're connected through family, because her college roommate is my second cousin. And so when you and Pastor Chris made the trip, when I lived in Haverhill, and you guys, were you guys our follow-up leaders or something? I can't remember.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, so anyway, somehow you and Pastor Chris made the trip to Haverhill. This is when New Covenant was at the Strand Theater, and that's actually how we met. And then this is before the word stylist was out, and I was your album cover stylist, but I was like your fashion coordinator, because stylist wasn't like a big word then. And remember, your cousin did the photo shoot at Franklin Park, and I got your outfit.
Oh, that was even. That was like a cassette. Yeah.
Oh, that was a cassette? Oh, Jesus. We done aged ourselves. So your cousin was a photographer. I got your clothes and your jewelry and all that because I had my store. And I still can remember sitting in my living room on, I can't remember, Draper. No, I was on Mount Ida or Draper. And we had this one conversation that really like intertwined us. And that one conversation, through my first husband dying to then me dating Matt, our daughters being around the same age, Candace being a part of Rise. So we've had this really amazing journey. We've had good times and some rough times, but because of our love for one another, we've worked through them. And, you know, I hold you so dear. I was just with you a couple of weeks ago, and I was like supposed to just be stopping by for a second and left around midnight. But it was great. We have some good connections, and so I appreciate you. And so what does friendship mean to you?
I think friendship is a mutually beneficial relationship, and I've I'm old enough to have different experiences with friendship. I mean, it was interesting when Pastor Cynthia was speaking. It was like, sounds like she's talking about a marriage. And I was like, whoa, okay. For me, I am open to know that sometimes people are in your life for a specific season, for a reason, or for a lifetime. And I've learned to just, when it's a season, you can let it go. But I'm also blessed to have friendships from people from elementary school, high school, college. And I think it's beautiful when you can meet people in a later part in your life when I'm like, I don't need any new friends, but God will say, oh yeah, well this person is a great connection. So friendships are people who deposit as much as they withdraw. And that's what I try and teach teenagers and young people. It's like, if somebody's always withdrawing your energy, sapping life out of you, that's not really a friend. So for me, friendships are mutual relationships that you enjoy. And they come and go, and you can have different friendships. Like my friendship with someone can be very different than your friendship because of the energy and the colors that you combine together. That's from like The Shack. That was a real deep revelation in The Shack. When it talks about different people, when you encounter them, you make a certain color. And it's okay if my friendship with you is different than Pastor Mona's because we're different, and it's all right. I think it takes women sometimes a while to figure out it's okay. It's all right. So that was a long answer, but.
That was a good one. Yeah. That was good. Yeah. And I think I love that, even in this book where it defines different types of friendships, that everyone walks away, like as different as we all are, like everyone's thumbprint will, have a different definition for a friendship. And like even the whole notion of color that's in The Shack. Sometimes when I'm talking about like green, like I'll see teal, I'll see emerald, I'll see where someone else might be, well, that's just green. I know, like sometimes when Julie and I are talking, she'll laugh at me when I'm like, oh my God, did you see that turquoise green? She was like, Mona, seriously. So I think that was beautiful, and bringing in the definition from The Shack. So, Katani, I have you as the confidant friend. She's the one that holds your secrets. She sees you at your worst and doesn't hold it against you. She understands your tribulations, yet encourages you to be better. You've learned you can really trust her because the one thing that you dished out with careful reservation was never heard again. In fact, you bring it up. In fact, unless you bring it up, she doesn't even mention it. She is the friend that you call family. And, in our years of coming together, I say all of you guys are my family. Like, I don't really have, I can't, I think I was talking to Kim the other day. I was like, I can't really, say, friend, because I think of you as family. Like, you guys are my family. You're the hitters, I can rely on all of you. But I don't think of, even when Matt and I are talking, it's like, Chris is his brother, you're my sister, And so as I go on,
Can I tell you that I feel the same way? So I just want to say it's a mutual feeling for me too, and I appreciate that. And it's clear to me that you're a lifetime friend. You're not a seasonal friend. Right. You're my child's godmother. You were there when my youngest was born. So there are certain things, and I
need y'all to know that I was in the room when her largest child was born.
10 pounds, baby.
And I don't know how. Katani was like, look, and I was like, no, I have to keep my face on yours. I have to keep my face on yours. I have to keep my face on yours. And she was like, no, look, I need you to look and see. And I was like, I can't. So I kind of felt like an epic fail in that, but I was in the room, so that was great. You know what's interesting? It's interesting that you and Pastor Cynthia are in the same place, because I was also there when she went into labor with Rebecca, and Pastor Matt was following behind her because they lived in Brockton and they stayed in Boston to be close to the hospital. And that man, he's following behind her while she's in labor. He was like, you need to get on the floor. You need to lay down. I mean, it was a mess. But I've had something with both of your children. So the next person that I want to talk about is Kim. And, I remember how we met. I know it was in the sanctuary. There was something going on. You were because Raina was in our cell group. And you came to church because of Raina? Yep. So you came because of Raina. I met you briefly, and then you ended up applying for a job here. I don't remember how that happened.
Right. So I'll
Okay,
say
yeah.
some stuff. So, met you in the sanctuary here, and I was looking for some Mary Kay at the time, and so she knew that you were selling it. So that's how we got connected, right?
I sold Mary Kay.
Yep, you sold Mary
Me
Kay.
too.
And let me just tell you this funny piece, and then I'll let you. So when I was standing there, first we were talking to Pastor Matt because she was in the cell group. And, we were talking about Mary Kay. And then all of a sudden you appeared. You were like, shoot. And I was like, oh, wow, who's this? And I thought it was because, these women were talking to your man. You were like, oh, no, I'm right here in the sanctuary. So that was it.
And as she got to know me, she knew that wasn't it, right? Because I just be like, But Kim, so then what happened? You bought Mary Kay.
Yep, I bought Mary Kay, and then that was kind of it. So it wasn't until years later that we started talking about.
It couldn't have
we
been.
became,
Was it years
but I
later?
was pregnant.
Because we were pregnant at the same time.
Yep. Yeah.
But were you working
No.
here? Oh, you weren't working
weren't
here.
work-
It was
wasn't working.
after you had
Yeah,
Ari.
After I had Ari.
That's
Yes,
right.
yes.
Okay, now it's all clear. So, Kim and I, like through the years, because then we left to go to North Carolina. We came back. There was always something going on around here. Ups and downs, trials and tribulations, this, that, the other thing. First you were with Bishop and Sister T, and then I don't even know when the transition happened to Pastor Matt, and then I kind of jumped on board, and then here it is 20 plus years later, because we had our kids at the same time, and I couldn't imagine like doing life without you. Like, it's just made me like, I'm gonna try not to cry as I talk about all y'all, but I'm gonna blink. But I think the other thing in terms of like friendship is that there are, hills and valleys, and I think that there are times where you work with someone, and not just because it's church, but a lot of people meet friends and develop relationships through your career because you spend so much time there, right? And so that was one of the things that happened with us. And then the other thing was, our children were connected, and our passions were connected, and our drives were connected. And so, through the years, you have become family. And even, when Pastor Matt was sick, you came over with some extra Lysol and stuff, and that was very appreciative. I was very appreciative of that because I had to keep spraying that house down, and I was like, we should have had stock in Lysol because I was just refusing to get COVID. Okay, whatever. So I've called you the connector friend. She has the heart capacity to keep everyone connected. She plans the outings, she sends the emails, she makes the calls to help us see the importance of community. The distance, the busyness of life, school, or career will not impede on the relationship that began at a pivotal point in all of our lives. She ensures that no matter what, even disagreements or disappointments, nothing will separate our bond.
That's so beautiful.
So what is friendship to you, Kim? Because me and Kim sometimes have these conversations where we're like, Yeah, we're done.
Yeah.
And then we get back up.
Yeah, we get back up.
Not done with each other. We're
no,
just
no.
like done with, you
Yeah.
know, we just
Yeah.
relationship.
We got some good memes going back and forth. So this is hilarious, honestly, because if you all know my youngest daughter, Anae, she's so wise and she's so smart. When she heard that I was on this panel, she immersed me in 2 episodes of My Little Pony because they, last night and today, this morning, she like made me watch them. And she called me before the segment to make sure I knew these things. And it's all about friendships, My Little Pony. And they get through and work through different situations, you know, that they all go through. And so the 4 key things that she told me, and I had to memorize them. Lord, help me remember them. A friend is generous, loyal, they laugh with you, and they're honest. And so that's what friendship, I don't need a whole lot of people around me to be my friend because I'm not a fake person and I wouldn't want to be fake. But if you have those qualities, we're good. And, you know, we have a history and I don't have to be in the front or in the limelight. I'm there for you, you know, and I have a core group of people with that. But isn't she wise? She's so smart. Immersed me last night and this morning.
Well, I just want to reiterate, so friendship is like a marriage.
Yep.
It's a commitment.
Yep.
And it's a commitment that you make, whether it's a lifetime or a season. Friendship is, sometimes it can be seasonal, but it's colorful. Mm-hmm. And these colors dance in and out of your life. Yep. Some colors are grounded and stay, and some may fade away. Mm-hmm. And a friendship is loyal, generous, honest,
you laugh,
and you laugh,
and you're kind.
And you're kind. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. So we're fine. We're making our way. This is awesome. This is so awesome. And so now I'm going to move on to Julie. And Julie, wait, I got to remember what I said Julie was. Oh, mm-hmm. Yeah. So Julie, I met Julie in the Welcome Center. And if you know Julie, I call her Nana because she's like a Nana. She's always giving you like little gifts. Like she'll just come and she'll be like, oh, here, girl. And she did it last night. She was like, oh, yeah, I tried to wear these shoes. I can't take these. And I was like, oh, yeah, shoes, I'll take them. But I met Julie in the Welcome Center because she was always in there like buying a gift for somebody, and that's when it was a full-fledged bookstore. We had tons of stuff. It was really rocking and rolling. And then from there, you were pregnant with Manny.
Yes.
Emmanuel. You were pregnant with Emmanuel, and we just started talking, and we just never stopped. And then where we really meshed was the time that we were on the vineyard and we stayed up really, really late. I mean, I don't even think we ever went to sleep.
We didn't. It was light out.
Yeah.
When we were like,
We just really started talking, and we found that, you know, we're both Cape Verdean, and our cultures and the way our family dynamics, all of that, it was just all kind of going together. And so I called you my creative friend. Whether it's fashion advice, interior design, learning a new craft, or a paint night, she is there with her artistic eye. Her colorful spirit matches her design aesthetic. She makes everything beautiful and is always optimistic. Her energy and zeal helps bring out I just found a typo in my book. Oh my gosh. Look at that, Jesus.
I think we're live.
I know. Because I just need y'all to know that when we get to emerging authors, sometimes you'll make a little mistake. You might not find, this is years later that I'm just finding this out. She makes everything beautiful and is always optimistic. Her energy and zeal helps bring out the blank in any situation, but I'm going to say, all good, girl. Helps bring out the good. And whenever you leave her presence, you feel joyful. She gives her all to guarantee your fulfillment in the creative process and outcome. Now, I just spent Sunday, which was only supposed to be 2 hours, with you and Kiki, and that is exactly how I felt when I left. Because, I mean, and I wrote you and I said, I needed that. Like, I needed that day. And I don't like female relationships. She said, that makes me really sad. She said, because the best thing that you can have is the company of your sisters, and learning and growing from each other. And so that's what I want, I wanted people to hear that today, that, these women, and I am very blessed and fortunate that to be a senior pastor and have women that I can count on, not just in my personal life, but also in ministry. And so for me, I wanted to put that out there, because if anyone is thinking about becoming a senior pastor, you feel called to that, you really have to have, you have to have your friends, because, when you're growing in ministry, you want to know that you have those authentic people that can tell you about yourself, that can say, I don't know, that wasn't, you need to check that. You need that. Yeah. You really need that. So what is friendship to you, Julie?
Friendship to me is authenticity. You said it. I see authenticity in people, and I see fakeness. And if you're fake, we will never be friends, because I'm a realist. And your mother actually said to me one day, the reason why I connect with you is because you're the same on Monday through Sunday. You don't change your mask. Yeah. And for a friend to me is a person that accepts that. I don't have to be somebody else around you. Right. I am who I am at all times, and if you don't like that, it's your problem. And that that for me is what a true friend is, a person that can accept you for exactly who you are, and let you know, when things are good, when things are not so good. You can depend on them. They're earshot away. If they're not there physically, or like you can't send them a text, you'll send them a text and they'll put a seed in you, always dropping those droplets, those people that are making sure that you're growing. No pun intended, but truly, those people that are making sure you're growing, not that you're stagnant. People that want you to stay the same, they're not your friends. So that's what a friend is to me, and you are truly that in my life. One thing that was so funny that I have to mention, that Pastor Mona kind of left out a little bit. I called her, and I was like, hi. And she was like, I just want to know, what is your intention in this friendship? And I was like, ooh, shoot, nothing. And she was like, oh. I was like, nothing. I think I vibe with you, period. She was like, okay. And it was golden from that moment on. She was just like, you said nothing. And that was it. I didn't want anything. I just knew our spirits were connected. Sometimes the phone, I'll send her a message, I was just getting ready to send you a message. So it's friendships are like that, And I've had friends from childhood that we're still friends to this day. And I seasons, reasons, I have all that. And one of my good friends always says, don't say you have best friends, because you have a lot of friends, right? So that's what friendship means to me, and I'm just grateful to have so many friends.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, my last person that I want to highlight is Pastor Gwen. And I don't know, I think, yeah, I did, didn't I? Yeah, creative friend, I read that, yes. Pastor Gwen and I connected, obviously, through ministry, and the time that we really connected, and I don't know if you remember this, is Maddie was taking his piano lesson, and you and I sat outside and we just shared. And our birthdays are a day apart, so we call ourselves twin sisters, day apart. She is July 4th, Big Bang. I'm like July 3rd. I'm before the Big Bang. So the thing that I have, that I love and have admired about Pastor Gwen is that she is so consistent. And she has that heart that is, always wants to be right and wants to be better. And, through our friendship, your pushing to be better really helps push me to be better. And, I know sometimes people don't think about that. Like when you see someone that's very like, I'm going to be right, it like makes you want to be right. And that's something, again, that's something that I have with all of you. It's like, I feel like I can let my hair down, and even though there are different like ways that we all connect, that authenticity is really with everyone. And so, when it comes to like, family, ministry, I mean, there's so many things that we connect on. And then, of course, us being born in the same month has always been our connector. And I think us saying that we're twin sisters, it's almost like in the spiritual realm, it has just connected us in ways that I don't even think people like really know. Like we don't have to talk all the time, but we know that we're there for each other. So I've called you the conscientious friend, and if we're honest, sometimes this friend can be a real killjoy. However, there is a side of us that wants to be correct and loves the advice of this friend. Her high moral compass guides us to do the right thing, especially in those hot-headed moments of pure rage. She never ceases to amaze you when you call her. She is available without hesitation for prayer, an uplifting quote or scripture, and a listening ear. She is the epitome of all things righteous, yet she is non-judgmental. And I really think that defines who you are, and not just who you are to me, but who you are to a lot of people. And I know sometimes because your quiet nature, and even sometimes when you're wrestling with what your purpose is, it's like God he needs you to know that you're that person that people go to because you're right. And so I just want to say that. But anyway, so what is friendship to you?
Friendship to me, ideally, means when I can just be myself. I just want to be myself, and people just accept me for who I am. I don't have to wear a mask. I can just be. I can laugh with you. I can talk with you. And I can tell you the things that most people won't say. They want to keep it in or whatever, and I can just say how I'm feeling and really not be judged. I came from a situation where, I did wrong and I was judged like really, really bad. So that was one of the things that, is my makeup. I do not and I will not judge. And it's funny that you, Pastor Mona, you just said pusher. You said push. And I was just like, and I was sitting here because that's who you've been to me. I mean, pusher, I know we're all a little bit older now, and that's always had a negative connotation to it. But you've been my pusher. You've pushed me out, and pushed me out. And, I am here today more confident, not afraid, not living in fear because of you. And I just want to say thank you.
Well, I think our next session is here. So I just want to wrap this up, and I want to say this. Webster defines a friend as one attached to another by affection or esteem, an acquaintance, one that is of the same nation, party, or group, one that favors or promotes something, and a favored companion, and a member of a Christian sect that stresses inner light. And so, in a world where a lot of people are lonely, I am blessed to be in the company of friends. And I think all of your definitions go along with what I read, and all of your definitions go along with what I read. And I really appreciate all of you in ways that sometimes can be very hard to articulate. And I know that all of you pray for me. I'm very confident in that. And, you know, when I'm having those moments, because I don't know if anybody else has these moments, but sometimes I have moments where I'm like, I don't have any friends. And then the Lord will just say, okay, get out of that pity party mess. And then he will bring all of you to my remembrance. And my prayer is that for people listening, that you would identify the friends in your life, and that you would hold them dearly, and that you wouldn't wait until they're sick or they die to let them know what they mean to you, that you would take an opportunity, if not today, within the next week or so, and reach out to those people and say, you know, I just want to let you know what you are in my life, and I want to give you your flowers. The flowers don't cost that much money.
No.
I want to give you your flowers today, because today is really all we have. Today is all we have. Anything could happen to any of us leaving here, but we're so much stronger, so much better, so much greater when we can, you know, be transparent and just say, I have friends that I love, and I love you all, and I appreciate you all, and I would not be sitting here today if I didn't have all of you in my life. I'm going to keep it together because I got to talk to the mayor. I don't want my eyes all red, but I really, really, really want to make it public that y'all are the hitters in my life.
Can I just jump in and say, you just call out our names, and you know wherever we are, we'll come running.
Yes, that's right.
See you again. Y'all know it? You know the seasons? Winter, spring, summer, or fall. All you have to do is call, and we'll be there. Yes, I will.
Oh,
'Cause you got
got
some
some
friends.
And I have some friends that can sing. Amen.
Thank
All
you.
About to get signed with
Thank
Beyonce
you.
and
Love
Jay-Z in a
you.
minute.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.